All right, so are you ready to explore Milan with us? We're about to take you on a whirlwind 36-hour tour of this incredible city.
And the best part is we're using an itinerary crafted by the experts at Yes Milano, the official city guide.
So you know it's going to be good. It's like having a local whisper all the best-kept secrets in your ear.
It's amazing how much they've packed into this 36-hour adventure. You'll experience everything from iconic landmarks to hidden gems and local favorites.
Okay, let's set the scene. Imagine you've just arrived at Stazione Centrale, Milan's Grand Central Station, on a Saturday morning. What's the first thing you do?
Well, for me, it's got to be food.
Of course, after a train journey, you need to refuel.
Exactly. And lucky for us, right inside the station is Mercato Central, a foodie paradise that's a hit with both locals and tourists alike.
That's always a good sign. What kind of culinary treasures await us at Mercato Centrale?
Oh, just imagine artisanal cheeses, fresh pasta, cured meats hanging from the ceiling, and the aroma of freshly baked bread filling the air. It's a feast for the senses.
Okay, I'm officially starving. But once we've fueled up, how do we tackle this sprawling city?
Milan is surprisingly walkable, and that's actually a key part of this itinerary. It encourages you to slow down and really soak in the atmosphere.
I love that. There's something so romantic about exploring a new city on foot, getting a little lost in the maze of streets. But what about those longer stretches?
Milan has a fantastic public transportation system. You've got a modern metro and a network of trams, some of which are actually quite old.
Oh, really? How old are we talking?
Well, like early 1900s old. Imagine riding one of those, rattling through the city streets. It's a journey through time.
That sounds so cool. I'm all about those unique experiences.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say we've enjoyed our feast at Mercato Central and we're ready to hit the pavement. Where does this adventure lead us first?
First stop, we'll wander from Piazza Repubblica, a bustling square with a mix of modern and historic architecture, toward Milan's legendary fashion district.
The fashion district. I'm already feeling my wallet getting lighter.
Well, hold on to your hat because we're heading to Via Monte Napoleone, the epicenter of luxury fashion in Milan.
Wow, I've heard about this street. Isn't it where all the big-name designers have their flagship stores?
You got it. But don't worry, even if you're not a high fashion shopper, the area is worth exploring. The architecture is stunning, and you can always window shop.
Window shopping is an art form in itself.
Okay.
So after we've soaked in the fashion vibes, where do we go next?
From the fashion district, we'll make our way to Piazza della Scala, home to the world-famous Teatro alla Scala.
The Teatro alla Scala. That's one of the most famous opera houses in the world. Do you think we might catch a glimpse of a performance?
You never know. Maybe we'll see some singers warming up or dancers practicing. Even just passing by this historic building is pretty special.
I agree. And then, from Piazza della Scala, we enter.
The Galleria Vittorio Emanuele.
Ah, yes, the gallery. It's that stunning glass-vaulted arcade, right? With all the high-end shops and that amazing mosaic floor.
That's the one. It's a feast for the eyes and a shopper's paradise. Take your time to admire the architecture and maybe do a little window shopping before we emerge right in front of the Duomo.
Okay, I need a moment to prepare myself because I know the Duomo is going to be epic. I mean, I've seen pictures, but they can't do it justice, can they?
You're absolutely right. The Duomo is one of those things you have to experience in person to truly grasp its scale and grandeur.
So paint us a picture. What can our listeners expect when they finally stand before this iconic cathedral?
Just imagine a towering facade of intricately carved marble, adorned with statues, spires, and gargoyles. And then look up, way up, to the glittering golden Madonnina statue perched atop the highest spire.
The Madonnina, that's the symbol of Milan, right?
Exactly. It's a powerful symbol of the city's resilience. Just standing there, surrounded by centuries of history and artistry, is an experience you won't soon forget.
I can only imagine. Okay, so we've admired the Duomo, we've soaked in all that history and grandeur. What's next?
Well, how about a little caffeine boost? Just steps away from the Duomo, tucked among the historic buildings, you'll find Camperino in Galleria.
A cafe. I'm listening.
It's a historic cafe that's been serving Milan's finest espresso since 1915. Imagine yourself sipping a perfect espresso, just like the futurist artists who used to hang out there.
Oh, a little taste of history in a cup. I love those little connections to the past. Plus, caffeine is always a good idea. But let's keep moving. What's next on our whirlwind tour?
From the Duomo, we'll head down Via Torino, a bustling street packed with shops and cafes. It's a great place to people watch and get a feel for the city's energy.
I love a good people watching session. It's like a live anthropology lesson. So we're soaking up the modern day scene, but I have a feeling we're about to encounter some ancient history, right?
You read my mind. As you stroll down via Torino, keep an eye out for a hidden gem, the Colonna di San Lorenzo.
The Colonna di San Lorenzo. Tell me more. What are we talking about here?
Picture this. You're walking down this busy street, surrounded by modern shops, and suddenly you come face to face with a row of ancient Roman columns.
Whoa, that's quite a contrast. What are these Roman columns doing in the middle of Milan?
They're a reminder that beneath this modern city lies a rich, ancient past. These 16 Corinthian columns date back to the 2nd century AD. They were once part of a Roman temple.
Wow, that's incredible. Those little glimpses into the past are always so fascinating, aren't they? It makes you realize how much history is layered beneath our feet. So, after our Roman encounter, where does our adventure take us?
We'll continue our walk down Corso Porta-Ticinese, a lively street known for its trendy boutiques and vintage shops. Eventually, we'll reach the imposing bell tower of Sant'Eustorgio.
Sant'Eustorgio? What's special about this church?
Well, it holds a pretty fascinating legend. It's believed that Sant'Eustorgio, which dates back to the 13th century, houses the remains of the three kings.
Wait, the three kings from the Nativity story.
The very same. Imagine that. Standing in a church that potentially holds such a significant piece of biblical history. It's pretty amazing.
It really is. It's incredible how these ancient stories still resonate with us today. Okay, so after this encounter with biblical history, where do we head next?
Our next stop takes us to the heart of Milan's canal district.
The Navigli.
I've heard so much about the Navigli canals. They're like a little slice of Venice right here in Milan.
Exactly. It's such a picturesque area with waterways lined with colorful buildings, charming bridges, and a vibrant, buzzing atmosphere. It's the perfect spot for a leisurely lunch.
Okay, I'm picturing myself sitting at a cafe by the water, enjoying a delicious plate of pasta and soaking up the sunshine. But after lunch, do we continue exploring on foot or do we switch gears?
After lunch, we hop on tram number 10 for a scenic ride past some of Milan's most iconic landmarks.
A tram tour, I love it. What landmarks will we see along the way? Get ready for Piazza Aquilea, a grand square known for its elegant architecture, the Arco della Pace, a triumphal arch from the 19th century. We'll even pass by Cimitero Monumentale, a monumental cemetery that's often overlooked by tourists.
A cemetery. I have to admit, that's not usually my first choice for a sightseeing stop. What makes this cemetery so special?
Trust me on this one. It's not your average cemetery. Think of it as an open-air museum of funerary art with grand mausoleums, neo-Gothic tombs, Art Deco masterpieces, even some Egyptian revival architecture. It's fascinating.
Okay, you've piqued my curiosity. I'm adding that to my list. So after our tram ride through history and art, where do we end up?
Our tram journey ends in Piazza Gay Aldenti, a modern plaza that's a stark contrast to the historic charm we've been experiencing. Get ready for towering skyscrapers, sleek modern architecture, and a vibrant cosmopolitan energy.
From ancient Roman columns to futuristic skyscrapers all in one afternoon. Milan truly is a city of contrasts. What are some of the highlights of Piazza Garibaldi?
Well, one of the coolest things is the walk-on-water installation, a shallow pool of water that creates this magical reflective surface in the middle of the plaza. It's super cool.
I love that. It's those unexpected little touches that make a city memorable. Speaking of unique, I'm pretty sure our next stop sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
You're talking about the vertical forest, right?
The vertical forest. It's those two residential towers covered in trees and plants, isn't it? Like a vertical garden in the sky.
Exactly. It's a truly innovative and sustainable design. Imagine walking through a forest, but instead of being on the ground, you're high above the city streets, surrounded by leaves and the scent of pine.
That sounds incredible. I'm all for anything that blends nature and architecture. But all this exploring has worked up an appetite. Where do we head for dinner?
Well, as the sun starts to set, we'll make our way to the Isola district, known for its artsy, bohemian vibe and fantastic food scene. And what better way to kick off the evening than with the Italian tradition of aperitivo?
Aperitivo. I've heard about that. It's like a pre-dinner party with drinks and snacks.
Exactly. And Isola is the perfect place to experience it. You'll find tons of bars offering aperitivo specials where you get a drink and small bites like olives, cheeses, and cured meats for a set price. It's a fun way to try local flavors and soak up the atmosphere.
Okay, I'm sold. Where in Isola would you recommend for aperitivo?
For something special, I'd suggest heading to Mercato Comunale Isola.
Wait, Didn't we already visit a covered market, Mercato Centrale, by the station?
Yes, but Mercato Comunale Isola is a bit different. It's more focused on gourmet food and artisanal products. You can find everything from fancy cheeses and cured meats to freshly baked bread and craft beer.
Oh, so we can have a tasty aperitivo at Mercato Comunale Isola. What about dinner?
After Isola, we're hopping on the subway at Zara Station and taking a short ride to Dergano.
Durgano. Tell me more about this neighborhood. What's it like?
Dergano is a bit off the beaten path, a traditional Milanese neighborhood that's having a bit of a revival. It's a great place to see a more authentic side of the city, away from the crowds.
I love discovering those hidden gems. What's on the menu for dinner in Durgano?
Our destination is Mamuska.
Mamuska.
It's a bar and bookstore combined. How cool is that?
A bar and bookstore. That's a pretty interesting combination.
It's got a cozy, laid-back vibe. Imagine browsing books while sipping a craft beer or a cocktail and listening to local musicians. It's the perfect way to unwind after a busy day.
Okay, Mamuska sounds like the ideal end to our whirlwind Saturday in Milan, but we're only halfway through.
Well, we're starting Sunday morning like a true Milanese.
Yeah.
Pastry and coffee.
Sounds perfect. Where do we go for this essential Italian experience?
There's no better place than Pasticceria Marchesi 1824, a historic pastry shop that's been around since, well, 1824.
Wow, a pastry shop with that much history. They must be doing something right. What should we absolutely try?
It's tough to choose. Everything looks incredible. But the panettone is a must-try, especially during the Christmas season.
Panettone, that's that sweet bread with the candied fruits, right? I love that stuff. Okay, so once we've satisfied our sweet tooth, where does our Sunday adventure take us?
From Marchesi, we're heading over to Piazza Cairoli. You'll see the imposing Castello Sforzesco right there. This 15th century castle was once home to the powerful Sforza family who ruled Milan.
Or I remember reading about the Sforza family. They were a big deal back in the day.
They were. The castle is now a cultural hub with several museums.
If we only have time for one museum, which one should we choose?
If you're an art lover, the Pinacoteca del Castello Sforzesco is a must. It has a fantastic collection of paintings, sculptures, and decorative arts. You can even see Michelangelo's last masterpiece, the Rondinini Pietà, there.
Wow, Michelangelo's last sculpture. That's something you don't see every day. Okay, so after immersing ourselves in art and history at the Castello, where to next? More historical sites.
Actually, we're going from history into nature. Right behind the Castello is Parco Sempione, a beautiful green park. It's the perfect escape from the city.
A park. That sounds lovely. I always appreciate a bit of greenery in a bustling city.
It's a nice contrast to Piazza Gay Aulenti, with all the skyscrapers and modern stuff.
Totally. Sometimes you need that peace and quiet. What can we expect to find in Parco Sempione?
Think winding paths shaded by trees, peaceful ponds, charming bridges, and even another triumphal arch, the Arco della Pace.
Sounds like the perfect spot to relax and recharge. Okay, so from a 15th century castle to a peaceful park. This itinerary keeps the surprises coming. Where do we head after our park break?
Next up, we're diving into a totally different kind of energy. Milan's Chinatown.
Wait, Chinatown in Milan.
You heard right. It's centered around Via Paolo Sarpi. It's a vibrant mix of Italian and Chinese cultures and a real feast for the senses.
What should we be sure to experience there?
So many things. Browse the shops with colorful silks and spices, step into a tea house for some jasmine tea, grab some authentic dim sum for lunch.
Wow, it sounds like a cultural adventure. And I think I know what's coming next. Another cemetery visit. You really are making me rethink cemeteries.
Well, when they're as beautiful as Milan's, how can you resist? From Chinatown, it's a short walk to Cimitero Monumentale. It's truly more like an open-air museum than a cemetery.
Okay, I'm sold on the artistic merits of Milan cemeteries, but you mentioned another one earlier. What sets this one apart?
This one is even grander in scale. You'll find an incredible variety of architectural styles. Imagine elaborate tombs, each one a unique work of art towers, temples, Art Nouveau masterpieces even.
I'm starting to get into this cemetery tourism thing, so
Yeah.
after exploring funerary art, what's our final stop?
We're going to a different kind of art haven for our last stop, the Hangar Bicocca.
Hangar Bicocca. I've heard that name but don't know much about it. Fill me in.
It's a contemporary art center in a former industrial space in the Bicocca district. They have large-scale installations and some cutting-edge art by really famous artists.
Sounds impressive. But is it worth a visit if you're not a huge art buff?
Absolutely. For starters, it's free. But beyond that, the vast industrial space is part of the art itself. You might be walking through sculptures, experiencing video installations, or even stepping into a surreal artist-created environment.
Okay, you've convinced me. Experiencing art in a setting like that sounds amazing. So, as our 36 hours in Milan come to a close, what are your final thoughts on this itinerary? What makes it stand out from a typical tourist guide?
I love that it's not just about checking off the famous sites, it's about exploring the hidden layers of Milan: history, art, culture, food, even a bit of whimsy. It encourages you to slow down, take it all in, and connect with the city on a deeper level.
I couldn't agree more. It's a journey, not just a sightseeing checklist. But if you're feeling overwhelmed by all the amazing experiences we've covered, what are the absolute must-dos?
Well, that depends on your interests, but the Duomo is a non-negotiable. The sheer scale and artistry are incredible. And to experience Milan's art scene, either the Pinacoteca or Hangar Bakocca would be fantastic.
I completely agree. Those are definitely experiences that would stick with you. Any advice for someone who might be a bit intimidated by exploring a new city, especially one as busy as Milan?
Embrace the dolce far niente, the sweetness of doing nothing. Don't try to cram everything in. Choose what really interests you, go at your own pace, and don't be afraid to get lost. That's often how you discover the best things.
That's great advice. It's easy to get caught up in the must-see mentality, but sometimes the best moments are the unplanned ones. And speaking of, we focused a lot on art and culture, but what about the food? No trip to Italy is complete without experiencing the cuisine.
Oh, get ready for some serious culinary delights. Milanese cuisine is all about simplicity, fresh ingredients, and letting those flavors shine.
Sounds right up my alley. What are some of the must-try dishes? What can't we miss?
You have to try risotto alla Milanese.
Risotto alla Milanese. Tell me more. What makes it so special?
It's this creamy rice dish infused with saffron.
Saffron, that's a pretty luxurious ingredient.
It is, and it gives the risotto this beautiful golden color and unique flavor. It's a classic Milanese dish for a reason.
Okay, I'm sold. Risotto alla Milanese, it's going on the list. What else should we be on the lookout for?
If you're a meat eater, the cotoletta alla Milanese is a must.
Cotoletta alla Milanese. That sounds intriguing. What is it exactly?
It's a breaded veal cutlet, pan-fried until it's crispy and golden. It's simple, but so satisfying. And of course, no trip to Italy is complete without gelato.
Oh, you're speaking my language. Gelato is always a good idea. Milan must have some incredible gelaterias.
It does. So many flavors to choose from. It's a tough decision, but that's a good problem to have.
I agree. A tough decision, but a delicious one. Okay, so we've got the classic dishes covered. What about some more unique foodie experiences? Something that would give us a taste of authentic Milanese life.
Well, we've already mentioned those covered markets, Mercato Centrale and Mercato Comunale Isola. They're great for trying a variety of local specialties. But for a truly authentic experience, I'd recommend seeking out a traditional trattoria.
A trattoria. I love that idea. It's those little family-run places, right? With all the home-style cooking.
Exactly, tucked away in the older neighborhoods.
That sounds perfect. What should we look for when choosing a trattoria?
Look for places filled with locals. Those are the ones that usually have that warm, inviting atmosphere that makes you feel like you're dining with family. And don't be shy about asking for recommendations or trying something new. You never know what hidden gems you might discover.
Great advice. So we've talked about art, architecture, history, and food. But what about the nightlife? Does Milan come alive after dark?
Oh, absolutely. Milan has a vibrant nightlife. You'll find everything from swanky cocktail bars to trendy nightclubs, cozy pubs, and live music venues.
So there's something for everyone. Any particular areas you recommend checking out?
The Navigli district is super popular, lots of bars and restaurants spilling out onto those canal banks. Brera is great for a more relaxed vibe with its charming wine bars and pubs. And if you're looking for something a bit edgier, head to Isola. It's got a mix of underground clubs and live music spots.
Sounds like Milan knows how to have a good time. Okay, as we wrap up our 36-hour adventure, any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
If I could give one piece of advice, don't try to do too much. Milan is a city best enjoyed slowly. Choose a few things that really speak to you, explore at your own pace, and just let yourself get lost in the magic of the city.
Beautifully said. I couldn't agree more. A huge thank you to Yes Milano for the inspiration for this incredible itinerary. Be sure to check out their website for all the details and tips on planning your own trip to Milan. And to all our listeners, don't forget to like and subscribe to Italian Soundscape for more amazing travel experiences. Ciao.